When it comes to the occupied Palestinian territories and the Gaza Strip, collective punishment, ethnic cleansing, and apartheid policies is what comes to mind. That's due to years of occupation by Israel. In this edition of the debate, we'll be discussing this at length to include the most recent accusation by UN rights expert Richard Falk, who has been relentless in revealing the realities on the ground in the occupied territories and the Gaza Strip, and he has accused Israel of a campaign of ethnic cleansing.
The United Nations Special Rapporteur has said that the situation of Palestinians is deteriorating under what he called Israel's apartheid policies and its ethnic cleansing.
The situation on the ground, as far as the Palestinians are concerned, has actually gotten worse. There are more settlers, there's more settlements. Jerusalem has been changed in a direction that involves making it more of a Jewish city. The water continues to be diverted. Gaza's in very bad shape.
Falk added that Palestinians are facing discriminatory laws in occupied territories.
The apartheid nature of the occupation of the West Bank in particular is premised on the notion that there's one set of rules for the Israeli settlers and another set of rules for the indigenous Palestinian population.
The 82-year-old peace activist said that Tel Aviv has been trying to change the ethnic composition of East Jerusalem Al-Quds by forcing its Palestinian residents out and building unlawful settlements there. Falk's strong criticism comes days after human rights and peace activists held the Israeli Apartheid Week. Protests were held across the world, including in former apartheid state of South Africa, where activists denounced Israel for its atrocities and rights violations against Palestinians. Israel has been trying to Judaize the occupied Palestinian territories by building more and more settlements, a practice the UN deems as in breach of international law. Tel Aviv has also been criticized for building a separation wall in the West Bank, which is also referred to by many as apartheid wall. Imposing a suffocating siege on the impoverished residents of the Gaza Strip, conducting deadly military offensives against them, and targeted killings of people who try to stand up against Israel are also in the long list of Israeli atrocities. Peaceful Palestinian protests against these policies have always been met with a harsh crackdown and resulted in deaths, injuries, and arrests. On the political level, the so-called peace talks between Tel Aviv and the Palestinian Authority have been stalled due to several reasons, including Israel's insistence that Palestinians should recognize it as a Jewish state. The demand has been rejected by acting Palestinian Authority chief Mahmoud Abbas. Many observers believe Israel's refusal to end its discriminatory policies and atrocities against Palestinians is due to Washington's unconditional support for Tel Aviv since its creation. It remains to be seen if the international community has the will to take action following Richard Falk's damning report, or will it turn a blind eye to the harsh realities in the occupied Palestinian lands, as it has been the case in the past.
Well, joining us in this debate is Associate Director of Neturei Karta International, Yisroel Dovid Weiss from New York. Yisroel Dovid Weiss, welcome. You have monitored Richard Falk. I'm assuming that you're familiar with him. He has accused Israel again. Ethnic cleansing was the adjective that he used, also including apartheid. Not the first time that he's accused Israel of this. But why does it appear the international community is turning a blind eye to the accusations, and in this case, the UN body, and in this case being its rights monitor, Richard Falk?
With the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth, His wisdom. We are always confounded by this seeming ignorance of the issues and the ignoring of what is happening. The issues are clear from day one. Well over 100 years ago, when this Zionist ideology came about of Jewish people creating their own sovereignty and then eventually deciding to make their sovereignty in the Holy Land, the rabbinical authorities in the Holy Land, the chief rabbi of Palestine, Rabbi Dushinsky, Rabbi Sonnenfeld at that time of blessed memory, and later in 1947, prior to the ratification of the State of Israel by the United Nations, the chief rabbi was Rabbi Dushinsky. He went at a meeting in Jerusalem with the members of the United Nations, and he pleaded with them in the name of Judaism and the religious community that we do not want in any form a state of Israel, that it is illegal, it is illegitimate. Judaism does not permit us to have a Jewish sovereignty, and Judaism does not permit us to oppress another people, steal their land, or any manner being compassionate to a people. On the contrary, we were living together with the Muslim community, with the Arabs and Muslims, for hundreds and hundreds of years in Palestine and every Muslim state in total harmony, without any human rights group to protect us. And since this creation of Zionism and then eventually the State of Israel, there is an endless river of bloodshed. It is impossible to subjugate a people and expect that there will be peace. Now, we're not condoning what is emanating from this fact that there is a state, but the fact is it defies logic. It flies in the face of tzedek, of righteousness, and everything that what humanity calls for by occupying Palestine. And so our rabbis universally opposed the existence of the State of Israel.
Okay,
and
let's get a reaction from our guest there in Washington.
Should totally confuse this issue.
Yisroel, Dovid Weiss, hold on to your thoughts while I get a reaction from our guest in Washington. Let me introduce him. Richard Weitz joins us. He's a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute. Richard Weitz, you, I'm sure, caught some of the statements there by Yisroel Dovid Weiss. And one of the things that he said is that what's going on in the occupied territories is not what Judaism stands for. Now, we're looking here at this most recent report by Richard Falk, and I'd like to cite another UN report of which back in 2011 there was a panel by the UN that found that the siege of Gaza, subjecting 1.6 million residents there, they called it collective punishment and also in flagrant contravention of international human rights and humanitarian law, and that the Gaza Strip would not be livable by 2020. Why is it that this goes pretty much, I don't know what word to use here, not abided by when you have the lives practically in danger of the people there in the Gaza Strip?
The critique of this reporting process has always been that it's partial. It focuses on one clear problem of the situation in the Middle East, but it doesn't address a comprehensive picture. It doesn't give you a full sense of how all the problems are interrelated. So you need to put it in context and have a broad perspective, and that will make it clearer how to address these issues. But fundamentally, the solution to all this is an enduring peace, a two-state solution between the Palestinian and Israeli people.
Yisroel Dovid Weiss, I asked Richard Weitz about what's going on with the people there in Gaza, the collective punishment, as it's been characterized for the people there to be under, and yet again, we're looking at Richard Weitz saying it should be looked at in the bigger picture of things, but yet the people of Gaza are subjected to 7 years of the siege. I mentioned the UN panel finding it unlivable by 2020. What can be done on the international scene in order for there to be relief for the people of Gaza?
Well, it's exactly what the fellow said, that you have to look at the bigger picture. And I'll give a metaphor of my esteemed Rabbi Beck, Moshe Beck, and he said, if you will take a suit for a broad person, you'll take a narrow suit and you'll try to put it on, it will never fit. If you will take this entity called the State of Israel and claim to present it as a legitimate opponent of the Palestinian people, and therefore we have to have a two-state solution or something, then you will never come to a solution, because you have to recognize that it is a purely illegitimate occupation. They've stolen the land from a people, and they are thieves. If you recognize, if the world community will recognize that this was totally illegitimate, the Torah does not give them the right, the Jewish law does not give them the right to the land, and that they've stolen the land, so it is, then you can start all over and try to come to a solution, as if you will have a thief steals $100,000 from a person, and the judge says, let's see a solution, let's make a compromise.
That's the problem, though.
Just let me just finish, just 1 second.
But wait a minute, you say the international community has to realize that this is illegal. They have. They say the settlements are illegal. The EU says it, the US says it.
Excuse me. Let me just, excuse me, sir, let me finish my point. If you will try to tell, the judge will say, I'll make a deal that everybody will be happy. 50,000 for you and 50,000 for you. When he says, no, but he stole 100,000. Let us recognize that they are thieves, that they've stolen the land against the Torah, they're rebelling against God, against what people call humane issues in international law. And that's the Torah law. You cannot take a land. If you recognize that it has been taken illegitimately, then we can come to a proper solution. But if you look at it as some type of religious conflict, that the Palestinians hate the Jews and that they want to take land away from the Jews, then you're on this quagmire and you never could come to a solution. And not only it will not be livable in 20 years from now, or 14 years, or 10 years from now, it is presently an endless river of bloodshed, because we are legitimizing these people and we're trying to deal with an illegitimate start. Let us come to the truth, and then we can come to a proper solution of reinstating the Palestinian sovereignty and having peace, and Jews to live together with Muslims and Christians, as we've had all the time in the past.
Richard Weiss, our guest there talks about how the international community should deem this to be illegal, this occupation, including what's going on in the Gaza Strip. Well, they have, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? They come out making statements, but yet when there's a bit of pushback, let me get your idea about this pushback here, and I'm going to reflect some of the statements coming from Israel on the U.S. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has an incomprehensible obsession with his push for Mideast peace. Kerry is messianic and obsessive. If U.S.'s image is feebleness, it doesn't pay in the world. I hope the U.S. comes to its senses. These were some of the statements made there by the Israel Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon to John Kerry. Just some of the statements from Moshe Ya'alon. I mean, are we looking at, first of all, a problem here that exists between the U.S. and Israel when it comes to Palestine with this administration?
Yes, I think though it's well known that there are a lot of tensions between the. It's well known that there are a lot of tensions between the Obama administration and the Netanyahu government, particularly over peace issues. The Obama administration is in favor of a two-state solution. It wants Israel to withdraw from some of the occupied territories, if not all of them, wants a halt to the settlements, wants guaranteed rights for minorities in both communities, and so on. And I agree with our previous speaker, this is not a religious conflict, and it should not become one. And I think that the Obama administration solution, which has been the policy pursued by the United States under previous administrations, would best achieve this end.
Richard Weiss, in closing, your comments, 1 minute, please.
Yes, with God's help. Again, if you're trying to fit a square into a circle, it doesn't go. That is, if we will, again, understand the root problem, and then that it's an occupation illegitimately, and that we can come to a solution by showing our respect and our regrets of what has been done to the Palestinian people, and trying to look in that, from that angle, how we can once again live together. And the solution will be eventually to listen to God and not occupy the land, but live as loyal citizens as we have to in America. The United States wants to, with God's help, do good for Jewish people as they want for the world. And that is where their problem is, because they can't fit this unjust occupation into this circle, which is a square into a circle. And so the solution will be, as I'm saying, to start all over again, and then we can live together, because the leaders of Palestine, the leaders of the Muslim world, will want to live with Jews as they've had for always, with a peaceful, speedy dismantlement of the state. We can live together. It's not a dream out of the air. It is a history that we've been coexisting, and that will bring us back to what our rabbis insisted, to follow God's teachings of the Torah, and we can live together in peace.
Thank you very much for that. We're unfortunately going to have to end it there. Associate Director of Neturei Karta International, Yisroel, Dovid Weiss from New York, also Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute, Richard Weitz, spoke to us. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of The Debate. From me, Kaveh Tafweh, and the entire team in the capital, Tehran. It's goodbye.